Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. Today I want to do my second video on Tomi Lahren. Yesterday I was analyzing her rant that made her, well, famous among people probably, or rather infamous, who didn't really know her before. But while I was doing that, of course, or before I made that video, I was, of course, researching her a little bit and what her standpoints are, what her opinions are. She is a political commentator, so it's all about opinion and the way she positions herself. And, I have some open questions actually, and those I want to address. Namely, is she actually a conservative? Or what does it take these days in the United States in 2020 to be counted or to be recognized as a conservative? It's a really complicated question. The word conservative is not defined very sharply. I actually, over 20 years ago, with a old friend, um, somehow at 4 in the morning, we were on a field in a rural area in Germany, and we had a beer and we were discussing what does it mean to be conservative these days. Of course, that was 20 years ago, but still, we couldn't really give a good answer. Yeah. So also, if you look at the Wikipedia page for conservative politics, for example, it is obvious that it differs from country to country. Remember, the word liberal, for example, means something else in America these days as it does in Europe. So also the word conservative, or what we associate with it, depends on the country, and it should be self-explanatory that 100 years ago it meant something else than 50 years ago and today. So it is a softer form of reactionary thought, I would say. It means that you want to go back to the good old days, or at least you want, well, that's more reactionary, but it means you want to conserve. That's what the word means, right? You want to conserve something that you deem valuable. So, and that means at least even though you don't want to go back to some ideal form of the golden era or something, at least what we could agree on maybe is that a conservative is not for rapid change or revolutionary change, social upheaval or something. Conservatives are normally people who do well in society, so it correlates with wealth, but it's not necessarily connected with that. And those people, of course, have an interest to maintain the status quo. That is one of the big sources, or one of the big driving forces behind conservative thought, that you're actually doing well, you're content with the way things are, so you don't want to change too much. Yeah? And Konrad Adenauer, our first chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany after World War II, he won an election with just a billboard with his face on it and the slogan, "No experiments." And, it was the economic miracle, and he won the election with that. No experiments. That means don't touch a running system. Never touch a running system, yeah? It worked well. People were content. Don't change anything. That is basically conservative thought. And if everybody is happy, yeah, that's not an unreasonable position. But the question is now, is Tomi Lahren really conservative? And quite frankly, I don't think so. Um, or else, maybe in Germany, she wouldn't be a conservative. Let's put it that way. And I think many people in the US also would probably have difficulties to accept her as a conservative. But the pattern is always the same. And of course, I was made aware of her when I made my video about Lisa Licentia, this backstabbing wannabe right-winged influencer from Germany. Yeah, she posed as a identitarian young woman, and then she just used the trust that was given to her by the right-wing circles and by the AfD party in Germany in order to collect dirt on them and stab them in the back. I'm not saying that Miss Lahren is doing the same thing. I think she's more of a grifter, but there are some similarities here. For example, the surgical enhancement of the body, yeah, to make herself more attractive or pleasing to the public or the boomer audience. Let's face it, let's be honest here, it's mostly old people who thirst after these girls. And when a mildly attractive young woman puts on a MAGA head or says some, or just repeats some mainstream conservative talking points, yeah, then these 40, 50, 60-year-old guys, they all go crazy. And oh, such a wonderful lady. Oh, my hope in the young generation is restored. Oh, if I were just 30 years younger, I would be after you. Yeah, and worse, really sleazy kind of posts under the videos. You know the drill, right? It's kind of pathetic. But this is what happens. And they get a lot of trust. Their careers are fast tracked, as I said over and over again. And since 2016, I'm warning people on the right from exactly this archetype of woman, because it is made so easy for women. And now let's look at her positions. Yeah? She says she's conservative, she puts on the MAGA head, she's nice to look at in the eyes of some people, and people are happy. But what are her actual positions? Well, first of all, um, she's pro-choice, so she doesn't care about the protection of human life. Yeah, she would end the life of an unborn human being so that a woman can, still have her nice body, or still go drinking, or still meet some random guys. That is more important than human life. A very conservative position. Yeah? And she, of course, got into a legal battle with the Blaze over that point exactly. And I would agree. Yeah, this is definitely against conservative dogma, I would say, especially in the United States. And if she is pro-choice, she's probably also pro-divorce. No-fault divorce is probably something that she likes. Some conservatives might agree there, but I personally would say that is already postmodern socialist stuff, right? This is not conservative. At least in my country, it isn't. So that's another point. And then she's, of course, a feminist. I mean, she said, "Oh, I wouldn't call myself a feminist." There was, "Oh, I would not really adopt this label, but I have a lot of respect for strong, independent women on all sides of the political spectrum." Yeah. Right. You're a feminist. You're just too chicken. You're just too cowardly to actually put on that name, that qualifier. Yeah, feminist. Yeah? It became a dirty word, but you are one. Yeah, all the actions, all the opinions, all the things that they actually do. And I'm not a big fan of politicizing the private. This is a very hippie, socialist, student revolt kind of thing, that the personal is the political and vice versa. That means that everything in your life must be totally aligned with your political agenda. Otherwise, you're not justified in the eyes of the movement. Yeah, I think human beings are, flawed, and human life without contradiction is hardly possible, or you go insane over it. So a little bit of contradiction is okay. But I mean, she does that herself, like politicizing the private. So let's look at her life. Is she family oriented? I mean, I think I covered this part in my video from yesterday. No, of course she's not. She's dating and she's texting guys. This is not conservative. This is a conservative woman at her age. She should have children by now, or should be married, and children should be, in the making, so to speak. Yeah, this is not conservative. Sorry, it's just not. Yeah. Also, this focus on career over family, that is not conservative. Even for a man, even if a man would do that, it wouldn't be conservative. In the eyes of conservative people, you would be a failure then. So these are important aspects, I would say. So nothing really qualifies her as conservative other than she's pro-Trump. But here's the thing. Trump is not a conservative. Trump has never been a conservative. He's not a conservative politician. Yeah, he's a populist, but he's not conservative. I mean, look at his life, you know. Nothing about Trump is conservative, never has been. And I mean, who said that Trump is a conservative? I've never heard that. And if somebody claimed that, he's profoundly confused. Yeah, that's the thing. Trump is not a conservative, and just putting on a Trump hat doesn't make you a conservative either, when nothing else in your life makes you a conservative. So, yeah, just what I always said: conservatives are ridiculous. I don't say I'm a conservative. I think it's a very it's not a very useful concept anymore, probably, because the status quo is not satisfying in my mind. I do not like the status quo. Some things, of course, I don't want to throw out or the baby with the bathwater. I think that's how the saying goes. But yeah, conservatives have failed us. They are too timid, too tame. They are always how should I say, on the retreat. They're appeasing the left. They're never really useful against anything that the left has put forth. They always eventually surrender. They always eventually agree to what the left does. And they're just too weak. So conservatism, in my eyes, doesn't even work in America or in Europe anymore these days. I mean, Angela Merkel's party is literally the conservative party of Germany. Yeah, look at that. It's a socialist party now. Huh? And it has been for a long time already. So maybe these big conservative movements, they're not conservative enough. They eventually gave in to all these things that they initially were so against. And if you look at the statements from these conservative politicians 5 years later, they were totally opposed. Like, oh, this is the red line. This is where this red line shall never be crossed. Yeah, 5 years later, they vote in favor of it. It's the same thing everywhere. It's in the US, in Europe, it's the same. Yeah, conservatives, yes, they and maybe we shouldn't be surprised. I mean, they slow down the process a little bit, but they never actually change the direction, or they never actually prevent something. They always just slow it down. Yeah, it doesn't come this year; it comes in 2 years, but it comes nevertheless. Okay, so first of all, it's not even a good thing in my mind. It's not even a useful thing if you want to quote unquote save the Western world or something. To be a conservative, it's not enough. It's not enough anymore, and it hasn't worked out. Yeah, maybe it could have worked out if they had taken conservatism seriously, but they didn't. So a lot of these people are lukewarm, fake conservatives. So it shouldn't surprise us then that a young lady can just put on a red cap and just say some middle of the road pro-Trump conservative things, and she's celebrated as a new talent, a great young lady. The future of, I don't know if anybody ever said that about her, but I mean, she definitely has a large fan base, and these conservative boomer types, these Trump enthusiasts, they celebrate her, of course. Yeah, and I see the same thing with some young ladies in Germany and in Europe, and as I said, since 2016, I have publicly warned people on the right, in the conservative right-wing camp. I warned them about this, and we see now that it's all true. This woman is actually a feminist. Yeah, she's of course in favor of all the advantages and all the goodies that women have in our system. I don't think that she would like to be drafted, for example, for the right to vote. Yeah, so yeah, she's a feminist. She's nothing but a feminist, and she just puts on a MAGA hat, and yay, now she's a conservative. Great. All right. So I don't want to drag this out longer and repeat myself even more than I already did. Sorry for that. I tend to do that. But just to sum up I want to say that this should not be just about her, of course. This is one more example, one more data point. I spoke about others before, and this is now a very prominent example that, happened recently, her rant that revealed a lot and that brought her to my attention. And then I dug a little deeper and I looked up some articles, some statements that she made in the past. And yeah, it's not conservative, it's not right winged, it's pretty. I mean, she studied journalism and is a feminist. Yeah, surprise. She's just a feminist. She's a grifter. That is my point. This is my understanding. I don't think she's a submarine that was planted there to destroy the right from the inside. I think she's just a grifter. I think she just wants attention and she wants life on easy mode. And if she was on the left, she would have more competition. And on the right, with all these thirsty boomers, it's just so easy. I mean, there is no easier way to get attention and large following and being offered like a job at Fox News or something. She took the most clever, I give her that, yeah, she's clever, and most easy route possible to fame and fast success. Yeah, that's basically it. And I think you call these people grifters. I think it's fair to say she's a fake conservative, she's a grifter, but it is, as I said, I want to go on record and say that I don't even consider myself a conservative, and I don't even think, for the reasons that I very briefly touched upon here, I don't even think being a conservative is still something that should be, aspired to, or that is useful. I don't think it is a useful or desirable direction for the US and Europe right now. I think you have to go a bit further than conservatism by this point. At the very least, if you want to be conservative, you have to, meditate a bit on what that actually means, and not just subscribing to one of the mainstream brands of conservatism these days, because that is not conservatism. The CDU of Angela Merkel, the Republican Party in the US, this is not conservatism. Not at all. All right. Let me know what you think about that, and maybe you have another one of those cases that I can look into, or that you care to elaborate about in the comment section below. Take care. Servus, Kameraden.